Good afternoon, Mr. Laing.
Good afternoon, Chief Justice.
Are you well, sir?
Yes, I'm well under the circumstances.
All right, okay. You've been an attorney for more than 3 decades, am I right?
That's quite correct, sir.
And I take it the practice has been quite successful.
Yes, it has been.
Did you join the Association for Black Business Rescue and Insolvency Practitioners because you are an insolvency practitioner or not, or you're not?
Well, I was hoping to become an insolvency practitioner, and I thought that was one way of getting in and getting to know how the system works and getting to know the law, and also to contribute towards the mindset. At the time, it was mainly a white domain operation of law, where blacks weren't really involved in insolvency. So it was the experience that I needed, and the camaraderie, and someone who I could, or some people who I could relate to for advice.
What about getting involved in business rescue? Did you get there, or did it remain an aspiration?
No, I didn't get as far as that, Chief Justice. I did a course on business rescue. I think it was offered by the Black Lawyers Association, if I'm not mistaken. And I did, I think it was a 1-day course, can't recall. But, you know, getting involved, you can study and you can read the law, but without getting the work and getting the practical experience, it's very difficult to actually get involved in that type of work. Of course, unless you tout for work in that field.
Yes, and you've acted as a judge and and you've written a number of judgments, am I right?
That's quite correct.
What is the longest you've kept the judgment reserved for?
I think it was the last one in 2018. It took about 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks the most. More likely 4 weeks.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Colleagues, let me have the names of those who have questions for Mr. Laing. Okay. Judge President, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Mr. Laing, remind me, when was your last acting stint?
In March 2020, Judge President.
And what were your duties then?
I did crime.
Yeah. And
well, I think I did, yes, I did mainly crime. I think I did a criminal case and criminal appeal, and I think there was a civil matter that I dealt with as well. That was as a matter of urgency. I can't recall, but
it was an urgent application, as far as I recall.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yeah. But your practice as an attorney, and you've been an attorney for many years, was largely criminal work, isn't that?
Yes, initially, yeah. JP, it was initially mainly crime.
Yeah. And can you just tell us, when did you start getting involved in civil work, and what sort of work was it?
Okay, it was initially when I qualified as an attorney in 1985. The work I did was still mainly crime, because those are the people I knew. Those are the people I grew up with. They're the ones that briefed me. And so you end up defending your friends. But you also did RAF work, family law. So it was a combination, but mainly crime. And then when our partnership, which was then known as Laing, Frank and McDonald, disbanded in about 10 to 15 years ago, about 12 years ago, more likely. Then I was left with the practice, with the one partner gave up law completely, and the other partner joined another firm. And there was lots of civil work to be attended to. And so including conveyancing, so that's when I started studying for conveyancing, and I passed my conveyancing exam after 2 attempts, I may add. And then it became more civil from say about 12 years ago.
And your experience on the bench, That was largely crime, if I recall.
Yes, there were 4 stints of crime and 1 civil.
And your experience in the provincial appeal courts?
Yes, the experience as an attorney, I've done a few appeals in KwaZulu-Natal. I've done an appeal in the Western Cape with a full
No,
bench.
but
as
I
well.
mean, did you sit on any appeals?
Oh, yes, I sat on 1 appeal, I think it was. Yes, there's 1 appeal, criminal appeal.
And you didn't do any civil appeals, if I recall.
No, Judge President.
And motion court?
I did 3 stints of motion court.
In short, what would you say were your main challenges when you acted?
Well, initially it was the apprehension of the responsibility of sitting as a judge. I was asked on 2 occasions prior to 2015 to sit. And then I was told on the 3rd time that if I don't sit, this will be my last invitation. And the reasons for the refusal was my feeling of inadequacy because of the huge responsibility that rested on my shoulders as a judge. One always had this fear. And then I did the first stint in 2015, and then one got more accustomed to it as time went on, and I began to enjoy it. And also the butterflies disappeared, and I was encouraged by, in fact, when I got that 3rd invitation, I took it to my leadership at the BLA for encouragement and to find out whether I should pursue it, and they encouraged me to take it on. And so that was the start of where I am today.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, JP. MEC?
Thank you, CJ, and good afternoon to in your
Good afternoon.
CV.
Yes.
I think it's section 2, the legal background.
What page is that? Page
Should
2.
be page 9.
Okay.
Page 9. But section 2, legal background. So it's not your CV, rather. It's the form, the questionnaire.
Okay.
Yes.
Page 9.
Mm.
Yes.
So you say justice depended to a large extent on the experience of your lawyer.
Sorry,
And
I'm not sure which page you're on.
Page 9. Yeah, page 889.
Sorry. I don't know if I'm looking at the right book here.
There's this one. Section 2. Oh. Yeah, that's not. So it's section 2, paragraph 1 there. Stop there.
Section 2, paragraph 1.
Yeah, under legal background.
Get the wrong file, sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're saying justice dependent to a large extent on the experience of your lawyer.
Yes.
Then you proceed. Still concerns me that legal representation does not necessarily mean justice that is seen to be done.
Yes.
What exactly you mean about this? And when is really justice seen to be done in this case?
I think the only time justice is seen to be done is when you have a suitable, qualified lawyer, experienced lawyer to represent you. I've had quite a few experiences, even sitting on the bench, where I've noticed that we have seen lawyers representing clients not to their best ability. And I think it's because of a lack of experience. And you begin to wonder whether is this justice? That even though he's represented, he has a lawyer who is inexperienced, who just goes through the motions of repeating, for example, the evidence in chief and not getting anywhere fast. So I'm of the view that something more has got to be done with the legal representation that we have at the moment, especially with young lawyers. To put a young lawyer to represent someone in the High Court on serious charges, who just goes through the motions, is, in my view, an injustice. And that's why I'm of the view that judges ought to get involved, even though they it may be necessary for them to be independent and impartial, and to show that by not getting involved, I think they need to get involved when they sense an injustice that may take place.
Except the experience of a lawyer, as you're arguing, what other factors amounts to justice being seen to be done?
You know, it's the transformation of the bench is one thing. Also, people, an accused or a litigant must feel comfortable with the bench. That's the one aspect. He must feel comfortable with the person whom he's presenting his case to, can relate to the type of community he comes from. I've had the experience where triers of fact, or judges or magistrates, whatever you want to call them, whichever forum they sit in, of course, don't understand the background of people. They don't understand the social systems. They don't understand what's required in that community for a person to react the way he does. So in order for justice to be seen to be done, I think there's got to be an involvement of the magistrate or the judge in the actual social background of the accused or of the litigants, to know or to understand where he comes from. It's a very subjective approach.
Okay, thanks, CJ.
Thank you.
Could I have a follow-up, CJ? It's from
Yes, please.
questioning of the judge president. Thank you, CJ. Good afternoon, Mr. Laing.
Good afternoon.
You're an attorney.
Yes, that's quite correct.
Thank you. You've only done civil adjudicatory work in the 2018 stint.
Yes.
As acting. Would one be correct to say your strength lies more in criminal adjudication?
Oh, definitely, in relation, because of the time spent in crime as opposed to civil work.
I see. And then.
And because of my experience as well.
Yes, as a criminal lawyer.
Yeah.
Your civil exposure, I think you did say you never sat in any civil appeal.
No.
I see. Thank you very much, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Judge President. Mr. Laing. Yes, sir.
Thank you. If I may also have a...
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Sigogo.
Thank you. I've seen that apart from your formal qualifications, you have a number of certificates.
Yes.
Will you tell this commission if those certificates, the knowledge you acquired through those certificates will come handy if you are appointed to the bench?
Yes, absolutely. You're asking me whether they, whether they will help. Yes, certainly it will help.
Okay, can you expand on that aspect?
Yes, these certificates are, you know, I always advised my article clerks, my colleagues, to take advantage of the courses that are offered by the LEAD and the Law Society relating to the various topics. There was a concern some years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, that Black lawyers only knew crime and only did crime. And therefore, whenever there was work available, including that from government, it all went to the white lawyers, because they couldn't trust Black lawyers. With the result, the BLA, LEAD, Law Society of South Africa started offering courses to fill the gap, to bridge the gap between these so-called criminal lawyers and lawyers who ought to have civil experience. And I encouraged lots of, and all my clerks actually, and my colleagues to get involved with the courses that have been offered by these organizations to bridge the gap between this stranglehold that blacks are criminal lawyers, and to ensure that they gain some form of experience and knowledge and understanding of the practical aspects of a civil litigation. So those courses that were offered, many of us attended just to bridge the gap and to ensure that we remain on par with the development of certain aspects of civil law. I don't know if I answered your question, Commissioner, but
Yeah, to some extent, if you found those courses handy when we were on the bench.
yes, no, sure, because it helped us also develop, because remember, you're coming from a criminal law background, and then when you are confronted with civil work, those courses helped. For instance, that we mentioned earlier on about business rescue. We never heard of business rescue. Of course, it's a new concept, but prior to this, we never got involved with business rescue at all. We got involved with debt collection those days, which was something different, and insolvency, but was also insolvency to a minimum extent. So the courses fill the gap and will certainly help insofar as I'm concerned with my role as a judge if I'm appointed.
Thank you. And you indicated in your questionnaire.
Sorry, sir.
You indicated in your questionnaire that only one matter was taken on appeal
Yes.
of the decisions.
Yes.
What happened of that matter?
Yes, the decision I made was confirmed on appeal.
No other matter was taken on appeal?
No.
Okay, finally, can you share with us the role you played in the transformation of the legal profession as a practitioner?
Yes. I came from a background where we were ignorant of what was going on, to tell you the truth. And only when I got to university, I realized, shucks, there's a war going on. There's a racial war going on between black and white. And at that time, we formed what was called then the Black Student Society. And since then, I was led by some of our so-called politicians and people who studied with me, and they helped me transform my thinking. And as time went on, we joined the BLA. I can't recall when it was, but it's many years ago. And my partners also were involved in assisting in the conveyancing courses and teaching, helping black lawyers to get involved in the civil side of law. And so we developed it, helped develop young lawyers. And then I got more involved in the BLA, I think maybe about 10, 15 years ago now, and got more involved in the executive as well. And I became part of the committees that helped young students at the BLA chapters at the universities, in our committee, in the local branch committee. I was involved with the newly admitted attorneys and article clerks or candidate attorneys that were also lost as to what to do and who to seek help from, and where they could apply articles, which firms they could apply articles to. So we assisted there, and then I got more involved with leadership of the BLA. And so that was my role. I also took on article clerks. 2 years ago, I had taken on 3 article clerks, even though I was a sole practitioner. And those 3 articles are now PAs in my firm. But throughout my 35 years, I think when we were allowed to take article clerks anyway, I think it was after 3 years. So say for the majority of my 30 years, we took on black article clerks. When I say black article clerks, I mean all races. More particularly colored than I had, if in fact you want to think of a differentiation, because those are people who knew me, and those are people who applied to my firm. And we were basically a colored firm as well, so-called colored firm, as they said those days. So that's what it was, and that's how I played the role insofar as transformation is concerned. I still encourage people to get involved with the organizations rather than complain and ask, for instance, what can the BLA do for me? And the BLA has done nothing for me. And my reply is always, it's not what they can do for you, but what you can do for them. So that's my motto.
Thank you very much. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, sir. You are excused, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Chief Justice, sorry, I think you might have missed me out.
Yeah, no, nobody said anything after I had invited names. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. No, I think when I say sing, I may be making so you don't hear it very well. Good afternoon, Mr. Laing.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah. If I just look at, you are 62, and you stated that you're under cholesterol medication. I trust that you've got your heart under control.
Yes, it's under control.
Okay, thank you. Now, Chief Justice, I'm going to ask a question, and you can rule it out of order if you want.
But I think 62 in June, by the way, yes.
Yes. I think it was Mr. Laing that presided over a matter where a woman was murdered in Overport in Durban. I'm not sure if it was you, and you found the perpetrators guilty. Singh, it was a Singh lady.
Yes.
I don't know if it was you. If you can confirm, then I can follow up.
In the Musgrave area, I think it was.
Correct.
Strangled.
Now, Chief.
Yeah.
Yes, strangled. Chief Justice, that lady happened to be my sister-in-law, and I attended the court case, and I must confirm that I really appreciated the way that Mr. Laing handled that matter and delivered the judgment. But the one question that I'd like to ask is, because during the course of the trial, it came to bear that one of the accused had fled the country. He was a foreign person.
Yes.
Now, I think this is probably happening quite a bit, where we get foreigners who come in. I'm not saying that foreigners are always guilty of perpetrating crimes, but they flee the country before these matters are handled. What is your view on undocumented people that may come into our country and commit crime and leave?
Well, there's various reasons why people come into the country. In that particular case, there were some of the accused were, I think one or two of them had quite a few previous convictions, actually. There were Tanzanians involved, or rather a Tanzanian, a Malawian, and I think about one or two Nigerians, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, one Nigerian. So if in fact they are legitimate refugees and they come into this country for those purposes, for safety and for sanctuary purposes, then I think we owe them a duty to protect them. In the same breath as they looked after us in days gone by, we owe them a reciprocal duty to protect them. But there are those who come here because they may think they can take advantage of the system. They think that they come here for criminal purposes. And so it's very difficult to draw the distinction. But one way of finding that out is the police network. The police network, I think, should be used in the purpose of establishing whether we have bona fide refugees here, or whether these people come, when I say these people, I don't mean it with any disrespect, but whether these people come here to commit crime because they see an easy harvest. So the police intelligence unit, they know, for instance, what's going on the ground. And I think there's going to be a link between the intelligence unit and Home Affairs when it comes to a determination whether it's a bona fide application or the person's here for some nefarious purpose. So that's my view as to when it comes to foreigners in particular.
Thank you, Chief Justice. The reason I asked the question is I couldn't ask the judge anything on the bench there, but as a family, we still bemoan the fact that somebody, quote unquote, got away with murder and fled the country. But
Yes.
I'll leave it at that.
That person actually was the ringmaster. He was the main guy. He controlled everything from the background, and was clearly, I think the police intended using him as a state witness, and that's the reason why he was in charge. But we don't know what actually happened, but I think that was the reason.
Thank you, Mr. Laing. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Honorable Singh. You're excused, sir.